Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing today? In today's video, I want to talk about something that was sent to me, and I think it's really interesting. I really do. This was sent to me in a PDF, so I really can't do like a copy and paste type thing, or like send you a link or anything like that. So it's called Paying Attention Yet? Here are the 10 plagues that our world has had to deal with so far this summer. So this is a summer that none of us will forget. Yeah. I think all of 2020 and so far all of 2021, no one is ever going to forget. No one. This is, I sometimes sit here and wonder if this is going to go down in like history books for kids to learn about 50 years from now. I really do. There has been one apocalyptic disaster after another. Yeah, exactly. And we haven't even reached the halfway point yet. Well, technically we have, because it's August 1st, but still in all, it's like, if one more thing happens, I swear, I don't know, it's one of those. At the same time, that historic flooding has been absolutely devastating parts of Europe and China. Unprecedented heat, drought, and wildfires have been hitting portions of North and South America extremely hard. Yeah. And if you watched Hi, Stormy Bug. If you watched Angry Prepper's video from today, where he's talking about the drought and arsenic clouds now. So that just blew me away. So on top of all of this, countless numbers of birds are suddenly, dropping out of the sky. Hundreds of millions of sea creatures have been wiped out. The pandemic is experiencing major resurgence, and we're starting to see famine break out in parts of Africa. So what's next? I think we all sit here and just go, what now? I seriously, every morning when I wake up, I'll get my tablet or my phone or whatever, and I'll go to my emails, and I'm like, oh God, it's one of those, no, not today. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's like, oh God, how many cups of coffee do I have to have today to keep up with what's going on? It's one of those. So what's next? What should we be expecting? A plague of grasshoppers to be unleashed soon? Frogs will be falling from the sky. What? Actually, that has already happened. Seriously. And I've included it in this article that, I'm reading from. So the following are the 10 plagues that our world has had to deal with so far this summer. Oh, Lord, here we go. So number 1, the historic flooding in Western Europe. Okay. So just 10 days after record flooding, 37 people in Western Europe met their demise. In Belgium was hit by a flood that was so powerful that it literally picked up vehicles and carried them along like little toy cars. Wow. In Dinant, within Belgium's Walloon region, a 2-hour thunderstorm turned streets into torrential rivers. Footage on social media showed cars and pavements being swept away by a powerful stream of rainwater. Now, the second one is a once-in-a-thousand-year flooding in China. Last week, more than 1 million people were forced from their homes by flooding in China. That was so extreme that it is only supposed to happen one time in 1,000 years. Starting last Tuesday, storms dropped the equivalent of 1 year's worth of water on the city in a 72-hour period, before moving northward, flooding large swaths of Henan province in China. Authorities say the rains have displaced more than 1 million people, and at least 63 people perished in what would have been, in theory, once in a 1,000-year floods. Lord. The third one is countless numbers of birds are falling from the sky because they're dying. This is something that, you know, I have spoken on. Jason over at the Angry Prepper has spoken on. A lot of us have spoken on. And thousands upon birds are suddenly just dropping. And it's in the eastern half of the United States, and authorities still don't know why this is happening. I've tried to come to the conclusion that maybe it's pesticides that are being sprayed in the air. Maybe it's fertilizer that we're putting on our lawns, or it could be anything. But I'm leading to believe that it could be pesticides that are being sprayed into the air. That's the only logical thing that I can come to. It's the only thing logical. It's the only thing rational, really. Now, thousands of cases of mysteriously ill songbirds have now been reported in at least 10 eastern and midwestern states. Scientists from federal and state agencies and wildlife health centers are collaborating diligently to determine the cause and perhaps find a treatment for what has so far proved to be an untreatable malady. Hopefully, scientists will be able to figure out what is causing this, because once a bird catches the disease, death can come very, very rapidly. And death seems to descend quickly once birds start showing obvious neurological symptoms. So it's just so sad. It really is. Now, the fourth one is 1 billion dead sea creatures. A few weeks ago, we witnessed the worst heat wave that the Northwest has ever experienced. And we're still seeing this, what I referred to, because this was the first time I ever heard this term, a heat dome, right? And we're still seeing this, temperatures reaching over 100 degrees all over the place. And personally, I know how bad it is, because living in Florida, I'm right there. I mean, you can't even step outside without, literally, you take a shower in the morning, you step outside and you're like, oh my God, and it gets so bad that sometimes you feel like you can't breathe if you're outside. So now CBS News meteorologist Jeff Baradelli explained that there was only a 1 in 10,000 chance that a heat wave of this magnitude could happen in the region. And it ended up killing at least 1 billion sea creatures. And that's really sad. More than 1 billion marine animals along Canada's Pacific coast are likely to have died from last week's record heat wave, experts warn, highlighting the vulnerability of ecosystems unaccustomed to extreme temperatures. The heat dome, here we go again with the heat dome, that settled over Western Canada and the northwestern U.S. for 5 days, pushed temperatures in communities along the coast to over 104 degrees, or 40 degrees Celsius, shattering long-standing records and offering little respite for days. And yeah, like even down here, I'll get in my car and it'll say it's 98 degrees out, but the feel-like temperature is like 110. I mean, it is so bad. It's just awful. Now, the fifth one is the mega drought. And this is happening all along the West Coast. And I feel so bad for everybody out there. I really do. The western half of the United States is in the midst of a multi-year mega drought. And 2021 has been the worst year of that mega drought so far by a very wide margin. And I've said this before, about 20% of the West was considered to be experiencing a severe drought at this time in 2020, but now that number is up to about 80%. In California, conditions have been so dry and water levels have gotten so low that the drinking water is literally starting to taste like dirt. Yeah. We experienced that here. I want to say about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. We were having a really bad drought here. And from that point on, I could not drink the water out of the spigot. I swore up and down it smelled and tasted like dirt. And Sean was like, "No, you're nuts. It doesn't, it doesn't, it doesn't." And from that point on, I was only buying and drinking bottled water. So this just confirms what I was saying years ago. It smelled and tastes like dirt. It really does. Anyway, something is off about Sacramento's water, right? It smells and tastes like earthy, residents are saying, and it really does. It smells and tastes like dirt. It really does. An effect of compounding climate change crisis, extreme heat, little to no precipitation, and a historic drought that has gripped the region for the better part of a decade. Up and down the state of California, rivers and streams and reservoirs are drying up. In Sacramento, that has led to an increase in the concentration of geosmin, that's Geosmin, in its drinking water. One of two organic compounds that give soil its charismatic smell. Now, the sixth one is the grasshoppers. That's what I was trying to kid about in the beginning. The extremely hot and extremely dry conditions in the western half of the country have created ideal conditions for grasshoppers to multiply. Now, millions of these voracious little creatures are gobbling up fields everywhere they go. And the National Weather Service is telling us that some of the grasshopper swarms are so massive that they are actually showing up on radar. Yeah. The National Weather Service, Glasgow, says the radar is lighting up, but not with rain. No. It's grasshoppers. And grasshoppers are flying as high as 10,000 feet above the ground and are being picked up by radar. And that's crazy. Now, the seventh one is the crop losses. This, I think, by far is the worst one because it's hitting everybody, right? Now, the severe drought in hitting agricultural production really hit hard in many parts of the globe right now. I have discussed this. Many other content creators have discussed this, okay? And down in Brazil, authorities are openly warning that the crop losses this year is going to be historic. Yeah. And the one thing that I had touched on the crops, especially in Brazil, is the coffee, right? It's going to be historic crop loss. The second Brazilian corn crop, Safrinha, it's Safrinha, has been severely affected by dry and warm weather during key development stages, and crop conditions worsened further in some regions that were hit by frosts and for 3 days in the end of June. As a result, Ag Rural has lowered its estimates of Brazil's output to 59.1 million in early July, 22 million below the initial crop potential. And the new frost could mean these estimates are dampened even further. Now, the next one, which is number 8, is the gigantic wildfires. This is, all of those. I think of the animals that get displaced out of their habitats, and all of the families, all the people that lose their homes. It's just awful. Now, dozens of major wildfires are raging all across the West, and they just keep making headlines day after day after day after day, right? And two major wildfires that were totally out of control in Northern California ended up merging, and this has created an absolute giant inferno that is threatening thousands upon thousands upon thousands of homes. Thousands of homes in Northern California are under threat from two wildfires that recently merged, as dozens of other fires continue to burn across the western United States. And officials say more than 10,000 homes are under threat, and evacuations have been ordered around Lake El Manor, a popular resort area, after California's largest blaze, the Dixie Fire, merged over the weekend with the Fly Fire. It's just, it's awful. Now, the ninth one is the Mammoth dust storms. The only dust storm that we have experienced here is when the one comes over from Africa. So some of these dust storms that are created are so large that they can actually be seen from space, and they can be extremely dangerous for those that are driving on the roads. For example, 8 people were just killed during a series of accidents that were caused by a colossal dust storm in Utah. 8 people, 4 adults and 4 children under 15, were killed in a multiple vehicle crash near Kenosha, that's Kanosh, on Sunday, as drivers were blindsided by a sandstorm. The Utah Highway Patrol reported Monday that 10 people were taken to local hospitals Sunday after the series of crashes, which involved 22 vehicles. My God. The dust storms in China can be even worse. In fact, the city of Dunhuang, and that's Dunhuang, was hit by a dust storm that was more than 300 feet tall. Can you imagine? A Chinese city is engulfed by a gigantic wall of sand, hundreds of feet high, and footage straight out of a disaster movie. I mean, can you just... I can't even imagine just watching that come right at me. I can't. A video showed the city vanishing between the more than 300 feet wall of sand that blew in from the Gobi, and that's Gobi, desert. And the apocalyptic scene was filmed by a resident who shared the clip on Twitter. I don't have that clip, but I'm sure if you go searching for it, look for it and see if you can watch it. Now, the next one is the Delta Airways variant, right? And, you know, we're dealing with the Rona at this time last year as well. But now the pandemic is making a major resurgence thanks to, you know, Delta Airways. And many people don't realize this, but scientists are telling us that those that catch the Delta variant can have viral loads that are more than 1,000 times higher than those that had the original strain. I don't want to get into this too much because I can actually get into trouble. But you know where I'm going with this, okay? So I really don't need to get into it, right? But you know, they can push whatever they want to push, but, you know, we all know the truth, right? All right, guys, I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Bye.